How to become a realtor in Hawaii. Do you meet these requirements for becoming a realtor in Hawaii? First off, you must be at least 18 years of age. Second, you must be a United States citizen, a United States national, or authorized to work in the United States by the date of the examination. Third, you need to have a social security number. Fourth, you must possess a reputation for competency, honesty, truthfulness, financial integrity, and fair dealing. Finally, all applicants must have a high school diploma or its equivalent and complete a 60-hour pre-license course from a school registered with the state of Hawaii, like the Hawaii Institute of Real Estate. Upon completion of this course, you will receive a school completion certificate. This will be your ticket to take the license exam. Once you have your certificate, schedule an exam with PSI Services LLC. You may take the exam online or visit a testing location nearest you. Pass the Hawaii Real Estate Salesperson exam. The test has two parts, the state and national portion. Upon passing, you'll need to submit your score report with your license application. Select a brokerage firm. In order to use your license, you must be affiliated with a Hawaii real estate brokerage firm. Apply for a license. Within 2 years of passing the salesperson or broker's examination, you must submit a complete license application to the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, DCCA. Once the DCCA reviews and approves your complete license application, you will receive a Hawaii real estate salesperson's license. What is agency? Agency is the ability to act. Each person has agency in their own lives, which includes making decisions, taking action, and accepting responsibility for the consequences of their actions. What is an agency relationship? An agency relationship is a relationship of trust in which one person, the principal, gives a representative, the agent, authority to act on their behalf. An agency relationship is a fiduciary relationship, coming from the Latin word for faith. What are the agency requirements? The following 3 things are required in an agency relationship. You can remember them as the ABCs of agency. Agreement. There must be an agreement between the principal and the agent. Benefit. The principal benefits from the services of the agent. Control. The agent can't simply do whatever they want to do when representing the principal. The principal has the final say or control of the agent's actions on their behalf. What are the duties of an agent? Well, you can remember them easily with the acronym Gold Car High. Picture a gold car on the beach in Hawaii. Good faith. The agent must act in a trustworthy manner with no intent to defraud the principal. Obedience. The agent must obey the directives of the principal unless, of course, the principal directs the agent to act illegally or unethically. Loyalty. The agent is loyal to the principal above all other parties in the transaction. Disclosure. Agents are required to disclose all relevant matters to the principal. Confidentiality. Agents may not disclose to other parties any irrelevant details that are not required to be disclosed. Accounting. Agents must be responsible to keep record of all money paid or collected for a certain amount of time, legally specified after closing. Reasonable care. Agents must exercise reasonable care in all matters. Honesty. Agents must be truthful with their principal. Integrity. Agents should act morally and ethically and have a reputation for doing so. Who is required to have a real estate license? A license is required for any person or company that assists the public in transacting real estate business in return for compensation. First, a real estate brokerage must have a real estate license. This is a company whose operations include sales, development, or property management. Each brokerage must have only one licensed principal broker, PB. A brokerage firm has its own broker's license, separate from the PB's license. Next, a real estate broker must have a real estate license. A broker is an individual who has met the state's experience and educational requirements. This includes principal brokers, brokers in charge, and broker salespersons. A principal broker, PB, is the head of a brokerage who oversees all company operations. There can be only one PB at a brokerage. A broker in charge, BIC, is authorized to oversee a branch office and assist the principal broker in managing the business. There may be more than one BIC at a brokerage. A broker salesperson is a licensed broker who does not serve as a PB or BIC. A real estate salesperson must have a real estate license as well as a timeshare sales agent and a property manager who manages property for multiple owners. Are real estate agents employees? Most licensed realtors in Hawaii are independent contractors, not employees. Independent contractors are responsible for paying their own tax withholdings and medical insurance. Since independent contractors are self employed, a principal broker does not have control over the number of hours a licensee works. If a company's salespeople are classified as employees, the broker who employs them must withhold federal, state, and FICA taxes on commissions, have workers' comp and temporary disability insurance, and assume responsibility for auto accidents caused by employees while on the job. When is a real estate license not required? A real estate license is not required when managing a community association, managing property for only one owner, conducting business under power of attorney, POA, operating a hotel or homeless facility, acting in a legal capacity for bankruptcy, probate, or trusts, or offering one's own home for sale. However, if the owner is licensed, he or she must transact the sale through their brokerage firm. Finally, licensees must ensure that all real estate transactions are in writing and that copies of signed agreements are delivered to all parties as soon as possible. What types of agents are there? In a real estate transaction, there is a seller's agent and a buyer's agent. Seller's agent. The seller's agent is the brokerage that represents the seller. This company has an agreement with the homeowner to help them sell the property. The term seller's agent may also refer to the salesperson assisting the seller. The seller's agent is also called the listing agent or listing broker. Buyer's agent. The buyer's agent is a brokerage that represents the buyer in the purchase of a home. The term buyer's agent may also be used for the salesperson who is directly assisting the buyer. A buyer's agent is also called cooperating broker or cooperating agent or participating agent. On the exam, the agent representing the buyer may also be called the selling agent. It is a little confusing, but it is important to understand. The seller's agent represents the seller, while the selling agent represents the buyer. Subagent. A subagent is simply the agent of an agent. In real estate, a salesperson is the agent of a brokerage, and the brokerage is the agent of the client. The salesperson is therefore a subagent to the client. For example, Adam Home Seller asks agent Claudia to help him sell his home. Claudia is an agent at Best Brokerage. Claudia prepares an agreement for Best Brokerage to represent Adam as his agent, and Claudia will technically be subagent to Adam. In real life, you will almost never hear the word subagent, but the concept is important to understand for the exam. What are universal, general, and special agents? Broadly speaking, agents can be described with the terms universal, general, and special. A universal agent is designated to act on behalf of their principal in any capacity. An example of a universal agent is someone with power of attorney. A general agent represents the principal continually in a specific business. This relationship is continuous. For example, Claudia is a general agent of Best Brokerage, which means even after a sale is complete, Claudia is still an agent of Best Brokerage. A special agent represents the principal on a specific activity or transaction. This relationship is non-continuous and ends after the transaction ends. For example, Best Brokerage is a special agent to Adam Home Seller. After the sale is complete, their agency relationship ends. A non-agent simply performs services with no fiduciary responsibility. In some instances, a licensee may perform real estate duties as a non-agent. To understand dual agency, we must first explain single agency. What is single agency? Single agency is when one brokerage represents a buyer or seller on a transaction, but not both. Most real estate transactions consist of two single agencies. What is dual agency? In contrast, dual agency is when one brokerage represents both the buyer and the seller. Dual agency occurs in the following circumstances: when the same salesperson represents both the buyer and the seller, when two different salespersons from the same brokerage represent the buyer and seller on the same transaction. This is still considered dual agency because one firm represents both the buyer and seller, even though each party is serviced by a different subagent. Next, when a salesperson purchases their own listing or the brokerage's listing. And finally, dual agency occurs when a salesperson represents two different buyers who make offers on the same property. Is dual agency legal? Dual agency is legal in Hawaii. Nonetheless, it is up to the brokerage to decide on any guidelines or restrictions regarding dual agency. A popular dual agency option is called designated agency, in which a broker designates one salesperson to represent the buyer and another to represent the seller. What are the rules for dual agency? Dual agency is allowed only if both parties, buyer and seller, give informed and written consent. In Hawaii, this is achieved when both parties sign the dual agency disclosure and consent addendum. When do agency relationships need to be disclosed? Agency relationships need to be disclosed at these specific times. When the property is listed, the agreement must be in writing, signed, and dated by seller and brokerage firm. Prior to preparing any contract, this may be in writing or orally. Prior to presenting the contract, this may be in writing or orally. Confirmed in writing on the sales contract. Why do agency relationships need to be disclosed? An agency relationship should be disclosed because agency may be implied by the actions of a licensee. If a licensee behaves as an agent would with a buyer or seller, they are implying agency. Why would implied agency be a bad thing? If a dispute arises because a consumer believes they had a fiduciary relationship with a licensee and the licensee did not act in their best interest, this could result in legal trouble. For example, let's say a licensee represents a buyer, but the seller is unrepresented, in other words, has no agent. In this case, the buyer is considered the agent's client and the seller is considered a customer. The agent has a fiduciary relationship with the client, but not the customer. Implying agency with a customer could result in a lawsuit if something goes wrong in the transaction. How do agency relationships end? Termination of an agency relationship occurs if and when the contract is fulfilled. For example, the home sells. The contract expires. For example, the home doesn't sell before the listing period ends. Both parties mutually agree to end their agreement, or the contract can't be fulfilled. This may happen if the property is destroyed or legally condemned, the principal or agent dies, or is incapacitated. One or both parties breach the contract, or the principal declares bankruptcy. What is power of attorney? Power of attorney, POA, is a written instrument that authorizes one person to act on another's behalf. Power of attorney creates an agency relationship that must be in writing. What is the agent called in this relationship? In the context of power of attorney, the agent of the principal is called an attorney in fact. The attorney in fact has power of attorney from the principal. To avoid unnecessary liability, a real estate agent should not act as attorney in fact for a client. What are the types of power of attorney? General power of attorney. Under general POA, the attorney in fact is a universal agent authorized to act on behalf of the principal in any capacity. An attorney in fact with general POA may have the power to enter into contracts on behalf of the principal, manage their bank accounts, mortgage their property, or admit the principal into a nursing home or medical facility. Special power of attorney. Under special POA, the attorney in fact is a special agent. Special POA gives the authority to act on specific tasks. It can be limited for a certain amount of time and can be drafted for virtually any purpose. Durable power of attorney. Durable POA lasts even upon the incapacity of principal. What are the rules for POA in real estate transactions? Recording rules: the POA must be recorded if the property is registered in land court. If registered in regular system, recording a POA is not required, but still advisable. If an escrow company is involved, the POA will be recorded regardless of which system is used. Real estate license rules. Under HRS 467, an attorney, in fact, does not need to be licensed in order to sell real estate on behalf of the principal, unless the POA is being used to evade licensing laws. This is not a rule, but a real estate agent should not solicit or accept power of attorney from a client, as it could potentially bring about a conflict of interest. How does power of attorney end? Power of attorney is terminated if any of the following occurs. The principal dies, becomes disabled, or incapacitated. The principal revokes the POA. If the purpose for the POA has been completed, if the POA expires, or if the reason for POA no longer exists. How do real estate agents get paid? Payment for a broker's services is called a commission. Real estate agent commissions are paid by the sellers at closing from the proceeds of the sale. The commission is typically a percentage of the sales price of the home, although it can sometimes be a flat fee or a combination of a flat fee plus a percentage. First, the listing broker receives a commission from the seller at closing of the sale. This commission amount was agreed upon in the listing agreement between the seller and the listing broker. Next, the listing broker shares the commission with the cooperating broker or buyer's agent. This shared amount was agreed upon in the cooperating brokerage agreement between the two brokers. Finally, the listing broker and cooperating broker pay the agents who represented their clients. The listing broker pays the salesperson who assisted the seller, and the cooperating broker pays their salesperson who assisted the buyer. The final payment amounts are based on the commission split agreement each licensee has with their broker. As a side note, experienced agents tend to have higher commission splits than brand new agents, since new agents require lots of training and oversight at the broker's expense. When does an agent earn a commission? In other words, when is an agent entitled to a commission? This is not the same as asking, when does an agent get paid? An agent is entitled to commission if they produce a ready, willing, and able buyer, but the deal doesn't go through because the owner stops the sale. Yes, in this case, a broker is still entitled to a commission if the seller simply changes their mind and or decides not to sign, refuses or neglects to correct title issues, commits fraud, fails to hand over the property within reasonable time, changes their mind and requires new terms not included in the listing contract, or colludes with the buyer to cancel the contract, cut the broker out, and sell to each other directly. If any of these situations occur, the agent has earned the commission, even if they haven't received a commission. This agent has the legal right to pursue damages. What percentage should real estate commission be? There are no set prices for real estate commissions. In fact, there is a law against fixing real estate commission fees. Realtors are not allowed to collude to determine a set price for their commissions. Price fixing is illegal under the Sherman Antitrust Act. What other laws exist regarding agent commissions? A licensee's commission must come from the agent's brokerage firm, not directly from client or customer. The purchase or sale of real estate owned by a licensee must be transacted through the licensee's brokerage firm. If a licensee is a property manager, he or she must be paid through the brokerage firm. A licensee may not split a commission with a non-licensee. If an agent is licensed in another state or country but not Hawaii, he or she can receive referral fee for a Hawaii transaction as long as they don't come to Hawaii for the transaction. Transient vacation rental agents can split commissions with licensees. Hawaii real estate history. What should I know about the history of land ownership in Hawaii? The Hawaiian Islands were united by warrior King Kamehameha the Great in the early 1800s. The first constitution of the independent Kingdom of Hawaii was written in 1840. Like other feudal systems in the world at the time, all land belonged to the royalty. These lands were controlled by the ali'inui, chiefs. Maka'ainana, that is, the laboring class, took care of the land. Land was divided into ahupua'a. These boundary lines ran from mountain to sea, dividing the islands into roughly pie-shaped parcels. This allowed inhabitants to benefit from the island's full range of resources for food and sustenance. The Great Mahele, or the Great Division, took place in 1848, which allowed for private land ownership. What happened during the Great Mahele? Land ownership transitioned from a feudal system in which royalty owns all the land to an alloidal system, which allowed for private land ownership. How was land divided during the Great Mahele? During the Great Mahele, the land was divided into four categories. Crown lands. This land was reserved for the king, who retained title to approximately 1 million acres. Konohiki lands. This land was reserved for the chiefs. Owners received a royal patent. Kuleana lands. This was land reserved for commoners. Owners received a royal patent. Kuleana is the word we use in Hawaii for responsibility. Government lands. This land was reserved for the administration for the good of the public. Some of this land was eventually sold, although the king retained title. Owners received a royal patent grant, which, unlike a royal patent, did not allow title to transfer. What was the Land Commission? The Land Commission was a judicial body formed to review people's claims to land ownership. Upon approval, a person would receive a Land Commission award, which gave a person full title to the property. In exchange for a Land Commission award, the government had a right to receive cash or land of equal value. This exchange was referred to as commutation. After commutation, the person received a royal patent. The Land Commission, LC, has long since been dissolved and must not be confused with the now existing Land Use Commission, LUC. What are some significant years to remember? The Great Mahele in 1848. Property ownership moves from feudal to alloidal systems, from king's land only to a system allowing private land ownership. Fall of the kingdom in 1893. The Hawaiian monarchy is illegally overthrown and Hawaii is annexed by the USA. Statehood in 1959. Hawaii becomes the USA's 50th state. Land Reform Act in 1967. This was a big deal in Hawaii. The Land Reform Act broke up the private land oligopoly and gave Hawaii lessees the opportunity to own land where they lived. What is a land use district? All land in Hawaii is classified into one of four land use districts, which indicate the area's permitted uses. Who determines the land use districts? The Land Use Commission, LUC, is a state of Hawaii agency that determines the land use districts. Remember, this is different from the Land Commission, LC, of Old Hawaii. Why do the counties have zoning power? The state of Hawaii distributes most zoning powers to the counties. What are the four land use districts? Urban. This is where almost all the people in Hawaii are living and working. Urban land takes up about 190,257 acres, or 4.62% of the land in Hawaii. Rural. Rural land consists mostly of small farms and is about 9,918 acres, or 0.25% of the land in Hawaii. Agricultural. This includes farmland or former farmland and some golf courses. Ag land takes up about 1.9 million acres, or 47% of the land in Hawaii. Conservation. This is most of the land in Hawaii, approximately 1.9 million acres, or 48%. Conservation land is controlled by the state, specifically the Department of Land and Natural Resources, DLNR.